way that information is really exploded in the online and digital space is something really interesting. And when we look at the traditional marketing and advertising channels and media, it's different. It's more survey-based, it's more reactive, it's longer tails to get real behavior. And what's been really interesting to watch is how these online providers, whether they be audience firms or the networks or advertisers or publishers, have become so sophisticated with information and gathering that information. I think for me, when I look at it, is the big brand theory, as you described it, is really how is that industry going to start using that information to better consumers and better how advertisers can reach those consumers. So I think it's a great opportunity, and I think with so much change going on in the industry right now, in the online players, there's still some work to be done, but I think a tremendous amount of potential. So I think when it started, I think it was a lot of great ideas, and actually, a lot of really interesting technology that was a catalyst for, I think, a tremendous amount of growth. I think that middle period is probably what I'd sort of call the sort of unchecked period, where you had a lot of companies who started who were very creative in what they were doing, but I think from a privacy perspective and from a business model perspective, the industry was very immature. And I think what we're going to see going forward is some of these new companies. When you look at the growth of either ad networks or how advertisers have become more sophisticated with their platforms, the agencies with their platforms, these trading platforms, I think all those new businesses have come up, and the whole industry is trying to figure out how they fit together. And I do think when we think of that going forward, I think the privacy concerns and issues are going to be addressed either by the industry or by the regulators. I think it's absolutely on the minds of everyone. I think the second piece, which I think will happen, as I look at it, is the industry itself is too fragmented. And you see that consolidation happening on the agency side. Clearly advertisers are the advertisers. The publishers, I think, are also consolidating. And I think that piece in the middle is going to be a question when we're looking forward. So I think that whole business is going to get a lot more efficient. And back to my point earlier around how this industry starts to take advantage of all this information and all this potential, it's really hard to do when you have 2,000 players in the market. And so I think that this industry is really going to mature and gel and be a really exciting channel for companies and advertisers today. Today it's what, 13 at best, under 15% of that spend, and you're reaching more people in a lot of ways directly through these online channels than you are through traditional media, but it's still only getting a disproportionately small amount of the spend. We have over 90 million cards in the market. We are the largest issuer worldwide as far as volume is concerned. We have millions of merchants that accept the card, and we have a network that processes all the transactions that go between those two parties. When you look at those three pieces, we're unique in the business because we're the only ones that have all three pieces. Other companies issue cards, but they don't have the network. Some companies are a network, but they don't have a relationship with merchants and consumers. And the big difference from an insights perspective, from a data perspective, is we understand the consumers and the demographics of those consumers and their preferences and patterns. We have the direct relationship with the merchants, so we understand what a business is. Is it a spa? Where is it located? How often do people go to that spa? When they travel, do they go to the same brand spa when they travel, or do they go to a different one? Are they trading up? Are they trading down? That's where the power of that relationship really comes to life. And when you think about how that information can help better inform companies in terms of being more effective at their marketing or targeting, really understanding who their best customers are, but what's the real value of their brand. The difference for us is, we aren't survey-based in terms of what we do. We look at the real purchase data, and the challenge of a survey is always, it's difficult to know what you're actually doing. You can say anything, but what you actually do and spend money on is very different sometimes. And just because of the breadth of American Express and how big we are, we get a very large sample data. So we are not looking at small sample sizes, we're looking at a very big base. And that helps us pull these findings out of the data, like you mentioned, to help customers perform better at their business. And that's really what we're in the business of doing. The biggest challenge for a small company is awareness. Awareness about who the customers are in the area, and awareness around how to reach those customers. And when we look at the information we have and the breadth that we have, I think, we have from the merchant side companies that are large companies, we have small companies, we have everything in between, national brands, international brands, mom and pop shops that are growing the economy every day. But I think the difference is what we can provide because of the breadth we have on the consumer side, the card member side, as well as the merchant side is we can provide a really good view for, in your area, here are companies, or here are customers, consumers, who have a brand affinity to brands like yours. Do people in this area like going to coffee stores? When they do that, do they like high-end brands or do they like lower-end brands? And so we can provide a real view into these markets, actually before a company even decides to enter these markets. Right? Is this even a market that has demand for your products? And because of the breadth, like I mentioned, and the direct relationships, we can provide that insight really deeply. So I think in that understanding of who the customer is, that's for me, and my family, my heritage, we owned a number of small businesses growing up. I know a lot of friends who own small businesses. The number one question they have is, we don't know who our customers are. They come into the store, I see them, I know their name is Joe, Sally, or Jill. I don't know anything about them. I don't know for every time they come into my store, if they're going to 5 of my competitors' stores, for every visit they're coming into my store. And it's the sophistication of the small business, and as I mentioned earlier, the information and sort of the internet sort of democratized information, how that gets into the hands of these individuals or small companies, I think is going to be a powerful thing. So, at American Express, we do that across all types of areas, from an insights perspective.